Good morning and welcome to another episode of Craft Here and Now. I'm Patty and today I'm trying something totally different. Instead of just showing you a demonstration with my hands, I'd like to talk to you so that you can finally put a face to the voice that you've been hearing. And it's the middle of August already and I'm already thinking about the winter. So not that we have a cold winter here. I'm in a warm climate, but I know there are a lot of you out there that do live in cold climates. So today I want to talk about the Cityscape Shawl, which is a shawl that I made many years ago, but this is not the original one. I have to be honest with you. I gave away the original one and I made another one for myself, but it is a knit pattern. It is a free pattern available from Yarnspirations, and the knit level is easy. So let me just show you this beautiful shawl. Every time I wear it, which isn't too often, but we do have some cold, blustery days here in Florida, I do get a lot of compliments on it. So it's a very pretty scarf, and actually they call it a shawl. I call it a scarf. But I guess it's all how you look at it. So let me explain the construction of it. There is a cute little tassel on either end, and they give you the instructions on how to make this. It's very simple, and it's rather long, and it goes, you start at one end and then the knitting increases. And this is all basically garter stitch, but there are a few special stitches which I'll mention in a little bit. But it's basically increasing garter stitch all the way to the middle, and then there's a point. Let's see if I can find it now. Here, there's a point, and then it decreases all the way down to the other end, and it works up very quickly. Actually, I find that knitting is a little more time consuming than crochet. However, it's a simple garter stitch with increases and decreases, so it does work up rather quickly. And it's not something that you struggle along with. It's something you can actually do while you're watching TV, YouTubes, movies, whatever. So the interesting thing about this is that it has a center double decrease, which is one of the special stitches that you will need. And it goes all the way from the beginning down through the middle. This is the right side. And it makes a very nice defining line all the way down to the other end. However, they call it center CDD, center double decrease. It's not quite in the center, but that's okay. It's off center, which I think gives it a little more character than being right down the middle. So it's very nice, and how I like to wear it, here's the middle point. You can see that, that's where you increase to, and then you start the decrease. So what I do is I find the middle, and then I just basically put it on my neck, and then I wrap one side and wrap it, and then I wrap the other side, and then sometimes I let the tassel show depending on what I'm wearing, and other times I just tie the tassels. So either way, it's very warm and cozy and comfortable, and as I said, I do get many compliments. So however, this is not the original scarf that I made. The original one was made from a kit that I purchased from Mary Maxim when I was in the knit club. I used to belong to the knit club and the crochet club, but then I got really busy with some other things in life, so I had to let those go. But I am thinking about joining the crochet club again. But this was part of a kit from the knit club several years ago. I don't even remember, like maybe 2019 or 2020, something around that time period. And I did use the recommended Red Heart yarn, which was Red Heart Colorscape. There were two skeins. One was called Sydney and the other one was Acapulco. And what you had to do at that time, 2 rows, well, the knit front and back, and then you would change from A to B. So you would alternate every other row. You would have to alternate, and that created that lovely pattern that you see here in the picture. But for this one, I did not have any of that Red Heart yarn anymore, so I used what I had on hand, and it happened to be Lion brand Ferris wheel. And I don't remember what this particular color was, but it worked up just as well as the Red Heart yarn, because it was a number 4, which was a recommended yarn, number 4. And yeah, I didn't have any problem with this Lion brand yarn. It worked up just as well as the Red Heart. So, but if you do make it, the Red Heart yarn was very nice to work with. And some people, they tend to complain about Red Heart yarn at times, where they find that it's a little bit coarse, especially the 100% acrylic yarns. And that may be true. However, when I'm finished with an item, no matter what it is, a blanket, a scarf, whatever, I usually toss it in the wash, and I add a little bit of fabric softener, and then I toss it in the dryer with a dryer sheet. And it seems like, I would say, 95% of that harshness just disappears. And then I end up with a nice, soft, cushy item that I've used making the Red Heart yarn. So it's, for me, it's not an issue. And I find that Red Heart yarn is very affordable. So there are different types of acrylic, which I'll explain in a different video. But yeah, so some of their yarns are a little bit on the harsh side, but it can be easily rid of if you follow those, not instructions, but if you follow that, washing it with some fabric softener and putting it in the dryer with a dryer sheet. At least for me, I have found that that works really well to eliminate all that harshness. So this was a very easy, fun scarf to work with. And again, it is called the Cityscape Shawl. So I wanted to tell you today, I went to the thrift shop, one of my favorite places to go. And I like to go to the thrift shop because I never know what I'm going to find. Oh, so I just wanted to mention, sorry, let me backtrack. So in addition to the center double decrease, you will also need to know knit front and back, and slip, slip, knit, and knit 2 together, all of which are very easy. And even if you are a beginner, I would definitely recommend this pattern because it's basically the garter stitch. So in addition to the garter stitch, you can learn how to knit 2 together. That's very basic. Slip, slip, knit, which is not difficult at all. Knit front and back to create a stitch, and then the center double decrease to eliminate a stitch. So if you have any trouble with those stitches, there are plenty of YouTube videos that demonstrate all of those stitches. But so even if you're a beginner, I definitely recommend using the Red Heart yarn and this pattern. It makes a nice warm scarf for the winter, which will be upon us shortly. These months just fly by. So I went to the thrift shop today and I found some interesting yarn. So let me get it out here. and two, one more. Okay, this is called the Big Twist. Now, let me tell you something about this. This yarn was a product from Joann Fabrics. Now, I don't know if Joann Fabrics was in the Midwest or up north, but down here in the South, we had Joann Fabrics stores. However, they have gone out of business. So this was from a thrift shop, so obviously it was a donation from somebody who no longer wanted the yarn. But so you cannot buy this yarn anymore unless another store has acquired all the yarn from Joann Fabrics. But I think if they did that, they would have relabeled it and made it their own yarn. So this is Big Twist, and it is 97% acrylic and 3% polyester. So I have not worked with it yet. I don't know how it works up knitting or crocheting, but the interesting thing about this is that when I shop at a thrift shop, I always look for yarn and thread and material because those are the items I like working with. And it's very unusual for me to find 3 skeins of anything in the same brand and the same color. Now, this color happens to be Cosmic Candy. So it's basically black with little bits of, I would say, yellow, red, and blue. It might even look like gold and orange. But anyway, it makes a nice combination, and I think it will knit up very well or crochet. And I was thinking even of using this particular yarn, because it is a number 4, for making another Cityscape shawl. Because that's how much I like that shawl and how easy it is to knit that up. So each of these skeins I paid $2, which I think was a bargain. So at thrift shop. And let's see what else I can tell you about it. Uses an H hook, which is about a 5mm yarn. So yeah, I love to go to thrift shops. You never know what you're going to find. I have a lot of items I can share with you that are pretty amazing, things that I found at thrift shops. So it's run by our local church, and they do a very good job sorting through all the donations and getting everything ready on the racks. These women work very hard at that thrift shop, and I really respect them because it's not easy going through all those donations and sorting things out. And everything is always nice and neat and clean, so I love going there. But I go to other ones as well. And this is called, just notice that, Big Twist Jelly Bean. So the interesting thing about acrylic yarns, you can see, I don't know if it's close enough, but you can see how it's all twisted. And that's the interesting thing about acrylic yarns. They are made, well, it's a big process, and I don't want to go into it, but it's like once they have their chemical treatments and it's gone through the spinneret process, it produces threads. And these threads are twisted rather than spun. So it's not spun yarn, it's twisted yarn. And depending on the quality and the combination of chemical content, some acrylic yarns are better than others, and but they are basically twisted. And when they do this type of twisting, it's like a strand of this and a strand of that, and then just winds up together. So this is pretty tightly wound, and it makes a really nice, interesting color. So I'm curious to see how this works up. I think it'll be pretty, very nice, especially for the Cityscape shawl. So let's see, what else can I tell you? Well, I learned how to knit when I was very young. My mother taught me, and she did not learn how to crochet until she was much, much older. And at that time, I was living in Connecticut, so I learned how to crochet from a girlfriend while I was in Connecticut. And but my mom loved her crafts. She was wonderful and very detailed and very thorough about not making mistakes and very cautious. And yeah, she was really took it seriously, and all of what she made came out beautiful. For instance, my mom made this beautiful hook rug, if you could see it here, and it's original wool. I believe she got this in the Netherlands and brought it back here with her and made it when she was living here in the United States. So it's really lovely, and unfortunately I do have a few stains that marked it up over the years, which I will try to get those out. But it's an incredible hook rug, really great quality yarn, and it's really something I treasure because of course she made it and she's no longer with us. So I miss my mom so much, and I just love all the pieces that I have that she's made over the years that I was able to keep some of them. Yes. So this is one of the special pieces that she made that I really like. So again, if you're thinking of making a shawl, they call it a shawl, I call it a scarf. If you're thinking of making one this winter, don't wait too long because winter will be upon us in no time. And you can get this from Yarnspirations. It is still a free download, still available, and you can get the Red Heart yarn, and if that's not available, you can use another number 4 yarn, just like I did, the Ferris Wheel Lion brand, and that worked out just as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'm happy to try something new, and we'll see if this setting works. I have another setting that I'm going to try in another video, so we'll see what works and what doesn't work. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the time that you take to watch these videos, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.